Welcome back, folks, for a very quick episode of Rapid Fire Leaked. And today we'll cover the Strv L-60, also known as the Landsverk L-60. So this is going to be a premium tier 2 Swedish light tank and highly likely going to be the New Year's gift for this year. So kind of fitting because we're getting the Swedes this holiday season and you'll have a low tier light tank to help you train your crews. But it's kind of a downgrade compared to last year's TD 3, which is a tier 3. This is a tier 2, so meh, but you're not playing the TD 3, you're not playing the Panzer 2D, the T7 combat car, unless you're super bored, so tier 2, tier 3 doesn't really matter. It's either going to collect dust in your garage, or you're going to sell it for a free garage slot. So, meh. But funny enough, the TD 3 is actually a Hungarian modification of the L-60. So it's kind of a duplicate, surprisingly, but whatever. Different classes, different nations, so who cares? But after talking about the L-60, I want to do a quick overview of patch 9.17. So this patch should arrive during December of this year, but it is rumored that the test server, the public test server, will be live next Thursday or Friday, and that's November 17 or 18. So you'll get to play with the S-Tank and test out the new mechanics for the tank destroyers and see how well the Kranvan or the Mil-1 works. So pretty excited, but let's talk about the L-60. So this vehicle is a further development of the L-10 light tank. So it's pretty advanced for the time it was developed. It had torsion bar suspension, periscopes rather than view slits, and all-welded construction. So this tank was robust compared to other tanks like the Vickers Medium or the T-26. So this tank was the Swedes' light tank Visor 38. So basically the Panzerkampfwagen 38T to the Czechs and this tank to the Swedes. So this tank was robust. It was the basis for future Swedish tech developments like the Strv M38, M39, 40, 42, and then 74. So yeah, that's their Panzerkampfwagen 38T. But here you can see a few pictures of the L-60. There were different turrets with different armaments. So this is the 38, I believe, and this is the 39, this is the 40. So there are changes to the turret and the armor, but it's mostly subtle. And this vehicle was later modified and given to the Irish and given to the Hungarian to test out. So yeah, this was the Swedish Panzerkampfwagen 38T. So enough said. But here are the main stats of this vehicle. So you can see that it looks a lot like the TD 3 by a tier 2. It has a 20mm autocannon with the thickest armor of 13mm. You're not going to bounce a lot of shots. 13mm, yeah, and you'll get penetrated everywhere from autocannons and machine guns, like the 50 caliber on the T7 combat car. So nope, no armor whatsoever. You do have a mantlet, but there's no armor underneath, so it's pretty much the same. It's a gift tank, but penetration wise only 27mm, so super low for a tier 2, but you'll have trouble with the French, just saying. Alpha is low, it's an autocannon, DPM is low, but it's a clip. There are 10 shells in the magazine. It fires in 2-round bursts, so 20 rounds per clip. Shell velocity is decent, but penetration is low. So it's like the T7 combat car for the Swedes. Accuracy is garbo. Aim time is below average, but dispersion is decent and has 10 degrees of gun depression with 30 elevation. So it was meant to shoot down airplanes, mostly biplanes. But horsepower per ton ratio is decent, so 22. Top speed is about 50 kilometers per hour with 45 degrees traverse, and terrain resistance is above average, other than medium, So it's a rapid firing, fast moving light tank that has no penetration and no armor, like every other low tier light tank. Health is above average, so that's good, but not as crazy as the Panzer IID. So, I mean, you'll get machine gun bursted by stuff like the T7 combat car, or even the Panzer IID, for all that matter. So, meh. View range is below average. Ugh. Radio is meh. Camo is above average. It's a tier 2, so no tier 4s. And whatever. Weighs about 7.3 tons. Interesting. AP shell is the default, with gold shell is also AP, but 10 more millimeters of penetration, about. So, 38 millimeter pen for gold shell is not great, because stuff like the R35, the H35, the D1 for the French, you'll get wrecked because they have 40 millimeter of armor. You have no penetration to scratch that. So, yeah, this is basically the T7 combat car. Let's take a look at the T7. So penetration is the same, but it has better alpha at the cost of the clip burst. So it doesn't have as much shell as the 50 caliber. It's a 50 caliber. It has a box magazine. So this is not the 50 cal. It's a 20 millimeter autocannon. Has better accuracy and not as good aim time. And yeah, it's a 50 caliber. You're not going to compare the gun depression and angles. Radio is garbage. Better camo though. Not as fast. No. But has the health. But what is surprising after playing through 1 versus 1 tournaments is that the Panzer IID is actually scary for low armor vehicles, because the Panzer IID actually has 30 millimeters of frontal plate armor, and it has an autocannon with a whole butt ton of health, so 210, and penetration wise it's about the same. I mean, 4 millimeter, not that much difference. But yeah, you already have the Panzer IID if you've been playing for a long time, and this vehicle will bounce a few shots from other autocannons or machine guns, but it has a butt ton of health. So just play with this thing if you are in for the mood of machine gunning stuff. But this tank is it's a free tank. What the hell am I talking about? So final thoughts and opinions. It's another free tank or garage slot, so whatever, but it's kind of a repeat because the Toy D3 is based off the L-60. Just take a look. We'll take a look at the Toy D3. But remember this silhouette or model? But here is the Toy D3. They modified the turret, removed some of the stuff on the hull, but it's mostly the same thing with the 37mm or 40mm, my mistake, but it's practically the same tank. So armor wise it's upgraded, but shape wise it's the same tank. So yeah, it has the health, the horsepower per ton ratio, and slightly above average top speed, traverse, and camo, but the penetration is god awful, and the alpha, the DPM, the accuracy, aim time, view range, and armor. So that's like so you are a fast-firing, low-penetration light tank, and mostly you're going to kill other low-tier light tanks with no armor. So, Swedish gift for Swedish tech lines. Hooray! Wonderful. But Swedish version of the T7 combat car, or the Panzer II Off D, still not OP enough for Tier 2 1 versus 1 tournaments. So, usually you get molested by Cruiser Mark III's 40mm pom-pom, and that's like 2 clip or 2 rounds of 2 round burst. So yeah, that's like 4 shells of like 30 damage or something, or 40 damage. You'll get wrecked, super wrecked, and you can't even scratch low tier French light tanks like the H35, R35, D1, and what's the other one? I totally forget. But yeah, you're not going to pen 40mm of sloped armor. Just nope. So is it worth it? Yeah, what are you complaining about? It's free, so have your free garage slot or dust collector if you are a perfectionist of collecting stuff, but whatever. So let's talk about 9.17. Now, Wargaming has done the unusual, or they start to do the leaked info for me. So they they robbed me of a video talking about 9.17. So you can read this on the main website, but they talked about the Swedish tanks. We already covered this. But here is something interesting. They talk about revised Overmatch mechanics. So you can take a quick look or read this paragraph. But what this means, to my understanding, is that they're getting rid of ×3 caliber rule, or 3 times caliber rule. And that's where if your gun's caliber is 3 times the armor, it automatically overmatch the armor. Doesn't care about the angles of the armor. So it will penetrate if you have more than enough penetration for the armor. So this was critical for killing stuff like the IS-3's gun access port on top of the turret. So that's a major weak spot. But if you get rid of the 3 times caliber rule, then highly sloped low armor areas of different vehicles are buffed, because you have to overmatch usually based on the caliber, but now you can't because they're well sloped. So this is meant to help the S tanks defeating shells, but it also buffs other tanks like, I don't know, the Borsig side scraping. So you can actually bounce a few shots if you play the Borsig, or if you play any of the Waffenträgers or artillery and you side scrape. So it's a buff. It's an overall buff to armored vehicles, to all the tanks actually, but it's a huge buff to vehicles with low armored turrets or hull armor, like the Object 140's turret, which gets overmatched compared to the T-62A, or the IS-3's turret, or the IS-4's turret against a Jagdpanzer E-100's shell. So you can easily overmatch the IS-4's turret if you fired the Death Star's gun at it. But now, overmatched, or not overmatched, overmatch is removed, so it will bounce. Pretty crazy, right? Expecting a lot of stuff from this. So it will make everybody survive a lot longer without actually making the heavy tank meta. So I like it. Props. Get rid of the old stuff. But whatever. Here are all the premium vehicles buffs. So super excited because the Lerve has 10 degrees of gun depression. I don't know how much the lower upper ground plate. What the hell is G plate? Is that the front plate? I don't know. But something is getting buffed, so that's good. Side armor is getting buffed, so that's also good. So Lerve is getting some help, but please buff the DPM if you can. That would be amazing. The turret is good enough for the gun depression, but it fires pretty slowly, like 1600 DPM or something. Ugh. So who knows? Oh, the FE4202 top speed is getting to 40 kilometers per hour rather than 35 or 34 if I remember correctly, but that's huge. And profitability increased by 10%. So yeah, we got it for free. Now it's better. STA2, better top speed. Engine's the same but different name. So buff the DPM or accuracy. But here is the revalorise, the ravioli, or whatever you call it. So dispersion buffed, amazing for the 105. I think it's the AMX-30B's gun, except it's smaller barrel length. So it's the same gun, rather low, less penetration, but still the same gun. But dispersion is better, accuracy is better. Okay, aim time is better, 2.4 seconds now. Awesome. Engine power increased. Oh, this tank had like 13 horsepower per ton ratio, if I recall correctly, but now it's like 15, 16. So yeah, it's a lot better. And gun depression, huge buff, from 7 degrees to 10 degrees of gun depression. So it's no longer a Firefly of tier 8. I'm about to buy it, so I think it's kind of worth it now. I mean, 10 degrees of gun depression with the high penetration of 200 millimeters, an APCR shell that does 340 alpha. Yeah, it's pretty good. You make a lot of credits if you penetrate, and you could penetrate. Yeah, accuracy is a lot better too, with the aim time and stuff. Yeah, it's a better. Oh, the Panther 88. Ugh. Hull traverse buffed. Good. Better engine. Great. Buff the DPM, please. But you had to start somewhere with this vehicle, so okay. WZ111. Buff to the accuracy. Good. Good. Aim time buffed with the Derpy 122 T25T. Engine power increased, so this will be a more mobile version of the Chinese Tier 8 Heavy, whereas the 112 will be the well-protected version. So you can choose, but you cannot buy the 112 anymore. Increase lower... What the hell is G-plate? Is that the frontal plate? No idea. Increase lower frontal plate armor? And turret armor? Okay, great. But please buff the Kanonan Jagdpanzer, the M56 Scorpion, if you can. That would be awesome, because those two tank destroyers are fallen out of the wayside. Also buff the 59 Patton, but that thing is just masochist machine. So the test server will be arriving likely next week. So I'll try to cover up. I'll try to cover everything if I can. I want to talk about the medium tiers of the Swedish vehicles, especially the Scion car. That's the IKV-65 alternate number 2 at tier 6, the tank destroyer. It's the box tank destroyer. It's the Scion car of a tank. But I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about some of the gun depressions on the medium tanks, because those are around 15 degrees. So super crazy, but yeah, there you go, folks. 9.17 is coming soon, and it's pretty hard on me because it's two tech lines rolled into one, with the T44 100 Marathon cutting me off initially. So I don't have that much time to do all the leak videos. Last year there were two tech lines separated. You have the Japanese heavy tanks and then the Czechoslovakian mediums, but those were separated by 3 months or 4 months in between. So I had time to do the leak videos. This time around, you have two tech lines into one patch, and you have the marathon taking up a lot of the time initially, so I'm getting swamped. And test server date is leak-ish video date, so you can data mine a lot of the olds or a lot of the new stuff from the test server with the old tank inspector. And yeah, we're going to see the likes of the Chrysler K and stuff like maybe the Lorraine 40T, the return of the prodigal son. Ooh, so there you go, folks. 9.17 and the L-60. So enjoy your free tank, enjoy your free garage slot, and let's prepare and get hyped for the Swedish vehicles. So thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.